The rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Hello and welcome to this channel where we tell you all about ancient history. And today we're going to talk about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. Let's get into it. The Roman Empire is one of the most influential civilizations in the whole world. It left behind many things that are still used today, like roads, aqueducts, arches, concrete, and even calendars. They fought against some of the most famous historical people like Hannibal Barca, Queen Zenobia, Spartacus, and even Jesus Christ. The Romans were at the center of the known world for almost 800 years, longer than any other empire before or after them. But how did Rome go from a small village of shepherds to controlling the entire Mediterranean and North Africa? Well, here's the story of Rome. Rome was founded around 753 BC by Romulus, who killed his twin brother, Remus, after the two of them had built a settlement on the Tiber River. According to legend, Romulus then went on to conquer the surrounding Italian peninsula, establishing Rome as a republic in 509 BC after kicking out the last Etruscan king Tarquinius. Under the rule of the kings, Rome was just another small city-state in Italy. But as a republic, Rome would become a power in the Mediterranean. In order to understand why Rome became so great, we have to look at what Rome was. Rome was not an empire at first. At its start, Rome was a small city-state, made up of the Italians and other Mediterranean peoples, like Greeks and Phoenicians. The government of Rome was run by a group of patricians, the wealthy landowners of Rome. They created a system of checks and balances between three parts of the government: the executive branch, which was led by two consuls, the legislative branch, which was led by the Senate, and the judicial branch, which was led by the courts. This system would later be adopted by the United States and serve as the basis for modern democracy. The government also established alliances with neighboring Italian tribes and defeated many of their enemies, like the Latins, Etruscans, and the Volsci. They even went to war against the Greeks in southern Italy and won. By 264 BC, Rome had conquered all of Italy and now set their sights on the rest of the Mediterranean. Between 264 BC and 146 BC, Rome fought 3 wars against the Carthaginians, one of the largest empires in the Mediterranean at the time. The first 2 wars were fought over control of the Mediterranean Sea. The third war was fought because Rome couldn't stand the fact that Carthage still existed. The Romans hated the Carthaginians. And after the Second Punic War, when Hannibal Barca was forced to flee to Carthage, Rome was determined to destroy Hannibal's home. They managed to do just that with the Third Punic War, sacking and destroying Carthage entirely. With this, Rome became the sole superpower in the Western Mediterranean. At the same time, Rome was fighting against other Mediterranean powers. They battled against the Macedonian Empire, the last Hellenistic empire, and destroyed it. They also fought against the Seleucids and the Egyptian Ptolemaic dynasty and defeated both of them. They even went east as far as India to fight against the Mauryan Empire, but they ended up coming back empty. In doing this, Rome took control of the entire Mediterranean and much of Western Asia. And with this, the Roman Republic became the Roman Empire. Rome's next target was the Iberian Peninsula. They went to war against the Lusitanians, Celtiberians, and other tribes there, and took control of the entire region, incorporating it into the empire. From there, Rome turned their attention towards the north. Julius Caesar conquered Gaul, which is modern France, while Pompey conquered the territories to the east. But shortly after, Caesar was assassinated and Octavian defeated Mark Antony and Cleopatra, who were lovers and rulers of Egypt, and took control of the eastern province. He was then declared Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, and the Pax Romana began. This period lasted for 2 centuries and saw the height of Roman power. Augustus expanded Rome to its greatest extent and reformed the government, making it more efficient. He also established a professional military force that would come to dominate the empire. This military would conquer more territory for Rome, defend the borders of the empire, and pacify rebellions in the provinces. The peace brought stability and prosperity to Rome, and the empire grew. But after 200 years, the Pax Romana came to an end. As the empire grew larger, it became harder to govern over such vast amounts of land. As a result, the Roman emperors grew weaker. Also, the Roman military, who had been stationed on the borders of the empire for so long, began to grow tired, and fewer people were willing to join the army. Because of these two things, the Roman Empire started to fall apart. In the 3rd century AD, Rome suffered through a series of civil wars and economic crises, along with plagues and attacks from outside invaders. During this period, known as the crisis of the 3rd century, Rome nearly collapsed. But Septimius Severus restored order and began to rebuild the empire. He also divided the empire into 4 administrative regions and appointed a member of his family to rule over each one. His successors continued this practice, giving more power to the provincial governors and weakening the central government even more. Diocletian was the last emperor to try and reform the empire, but he too failed, and the empire kept falling into chaos and civil war. And with this, the Western Roman Empire was completely destroyed in 476 AD by the Germanic leader Theodoric the Great, ending the classical era of antiquity. Now, despite Rome being sacked, destroyed and burned multiple times throughout its existence, the Romans rebuilt every single time. But with the empire growing weaker and weaker, no emperor was able to restore Rome to its former glory. Instead, the Romans, along with the rest of Europe, entered into a period of decline known as the Dark Ages. The fall of the Western Roman Empire is often exaggerated by historians who claim that Europe went backwards several centuries, but that's not really true. There was no sudden drop in literacy rates, and knowledge of Greek and Roman culture continued to be studied during this time. So while Rome was indeed fallen, life in Europe didn't suddenly become horrible. The Eastern Roman Empire, however, was a different story. Rome lost half of their territory when the western half fell, but their economy and power remained strong. They even adopted the title Byzantine Empire in order to distance themselves from the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Despite this, the Byzantine Empire was still affected by the fall of Rome. After the fall, the remaining emperors tried to recapture the lost territories, but failed to do so. The Byzantine Empire would continue on until 1453 AD, when it was captured by the Ottoman Turks. So was Rome really all that great? Well, while Rome wasn't perfect by any means, they accomplished more and lasted longer than any other empire before or after them. Their accomplishments still influence our lives today. Their art, architecture, and culture inspired the Renaissance, and many of their innovations are still being used, and their legacy still lives on in the modern nation of Italy. What about the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as the Byzantine Empire? Well, they accomplished many of the same things as the Western Roman Empire, but they also accomplished some amazing things of their own. They built magnificent churches like the Hagia Sophia. They preserved many ancient texts, including the works of ancient Greece and Rome, which otherwise might have been lost forever. They also influenced the Slavic people by converting them to Christianity and helping them establish their own kingdoms. Without the Byzantines, Eastern Europe might look very different today. So did Rome live up to the hype? We think so. They truly were one of the greatest empires that the world has ever seen. That's all for this video. What did you think of the Roman Empire? Let us know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching.